Hi, everybody. My name is Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording, and this is the new Squarp Hapax. Hotbox? The new Squarp Hotbox, a 16-channel polychronic sequencer. I guess that's where the hotbox stroke can fit in the chronic thing. What are we looking at here? Well, this is a new 16-channel hardware sequencer from Squarp. The people behind, let's see, the Squarp Pyramid, the Squarp Hermod, and the Squarp Rample, amongst possibly other things. Those are the ones I know them as. So they have experience with sequencers, with the Pyramid and the Hermod being under their belt. And you can look at this as the evolution of the Hermod and the Pyramid put into this wonderfully engaging friend here. You can see we have lots of lights, which is always good. This video is going to be as thorough of a walkthrough as I possibly can on this, because I know when it comes to sequencers, everybody wants to know every tiny little thing. They want to know, oh, does it do note filtering on MIDI channel 16 under the full moon? And I'm going to be as thorough as I can, but honestly, you should go read the manual. A manual reading is always going to answer more questions than some idiot on YouTube showing you something with a bunch of blinking lights. That said, we are going to go through all this. Check the video description for chapter markers. Let's get into it. All right, so 16 channels, polychromatic, polyphonic. We have two projects we can load at once and switch between, which is really cool. Yes, it has song mode. Yes, it has all kinds of algorithmic tools in it for creating sequences. This is a metal plate right here. The build is plastic underneath that, I believe. We have two MIDI ins. One is a full MIDI DIN. The other one is a 3.5 millimeter to MIDI, this thing, which they provide to you. 4 MIDI outs. 3 are real MIDI DINs. And then the last one is, again, this. There are 4 pairs of gate and CV right here. 2 whole CV ins that you can use any way you want. And we're going to be using them in fun ways with the O-Coast over here. We have a foot switch, which can be assigned to things. There's an SD card for saving settings and patterns. There's USB host and USB out. And this thing turns on really fast. Let me show you how quickly this thing turns on. Whoops, it's on. Okay, let's load a project and start talking about the structure of doing stuff. I'm going to hold down project and go to load, and I'm going to go load 1. Yes, I'd like to set the tempo to 100. Yeah. Beautiful. We're going to erase all that, start from scratch. What am I using here? Okay, well, the first, let's see, 10 or so, maybe 12 channels are going to the Waldorf Blofeld because it is multi-timbral, meaning it can have multiple synth parts in it assigned by MIDI channel. So MIDI A is going out into that, and I'm doing like all kinds of cool sounds there, which you'll hear. God bless the Blofeld. Maybe a little clunky, but it still is doing work here in the year of our Lord 2022. MIDI B. MIDI B here is going to our TR-6S. We are running one of the channels in drum mode, and I'll explain that in a smidge. 14 is going to the Zero Coast. Ooh, I forgot to load up my preset. So much nicer. We'll talk about the Fader Fox in a little bit. So that's what's happening here. I'm not MIDI syncing the ZOIA, but I could if I wanted to. So on our track, this is a track. Each track can have 8 patterns associated with it. If we go to pattern, you'll see 8. There does not go below this for right now. You get 8 patterns per thing. Patterns can be launched, like pressing a whole row. You can also stop them. Launch them again. And we can create sections, which can then be chained together for songs, kind of like how the Machine Plus works, which is real neat. We have special effects we can assign to each channel. We got a lot of stuff, but I need to just sort of like, let's get into the real basics before. I'm going to go back to live mode. We have 2 ways of getting notes in, live and step. I'm going to erase all of the channels I've so far created by holding down delete. I'm going like this. And let's start at the project level and talk about that. So if I hold down project, you'll see that I have some options over here. I can set a scale for the whole project. You can see that I have mine set to Dorian minor. And over here, I have a time signature and a overall quantize. And you can set this to whatever you want or off. And then I have a 16, channel 16 is set to transpose within the key that I've chosen. So I can actually transpose the whole sequence by putting notes on channel 16, which is real cool. If I want to start putting information on a track, there's a few things I might want to do before I do that. So if I hold down the track, I can go to a specific MIDI output and channel. I can set the current pattern length. In this case, I think I have a lot of them set to 64 bars. They default down to 16 bars. or they default down to 1 bar or 64 steps. We have input here, and we'll get into that a little bit later. If you hold down second and go into here, you have quantize. This is grayed out because the project quantize is currently on. And we have transpose and scale. This will say whether or not 16 transposes it. And yeah, we can also rename the track if we want. So all that's very useful. Here is the isomorphic keyboard. One really cool thing is take a look right here. It tells you what you're playing. Isn't that cool? There's a B flat sus. It's a little sus. So that is live mode. We'll record something in there in a bit. Step mode is really cool too. And this is how we're going to enter our drums. Why don't we get a drum beat going so we can play along to it? I'll go to channel 15. See how we are in drum mode right here? In fact, if I go to live, we will get velocity, sensitive, pads that go up in velocity as you play them. And drum mode can be customized. I have all the notes going out to the specific notes that the TR-6S responds to. And I'm able to adjust that. I can actually send out in drum mode a note and a MIDI channel. So if your drum machine responds to MIDI channels as opposed to MIDI notes, you can do that here as well. You can do both. And then over here, you can name them, which is very, very useful as well. If I click into here, boop. See, I did forget to mention, by default, all channels will default to the polyphonic mode, but if you hold down step, you will get to this thing here that lets you change that. I'm not going to change it right now. Let's see, I could change it on this. Is there a mono mode? No, we have drum, MPE, and poly. I'm not going to be demonstrating MPE with this, sorry. I don't have any MPE synthesizers that fit in the smallest space. MIDI sequencing is expensive from a space perspective. But yeah, I'm sure someone else will cover that in their video. All right, let's go over here to our drums. And if I hit play now, we'll hear that we have a wonderful kick drum. Let's go over to our first instrument here and let's try to enter something in live mode. I'm going to wait for that to come around and we'll just play a little sequence. I am perfectly in key because I have set the whole project's thing to that. So I'll just play something. Now, if I go into step mode, I will see the stuff that I put in. So if I need to fix something, I can. So in a way, it's kind of like the deluge sequencer. I can move through stuff like this. Pretty nifty. If I want to erase anything, I can hit delete and do that. Let me show you step mode, because step mode is pretty cool too. So I will go to step. I'm actually going to change this pattern. Let's see, is this the right sound for me? No. Let's go over here. That's pretty good. Okay, so if I record live, go down to that step. Now in this mode, I can come in and I can start holding down steps and changing them. So what do we have? We have things like roll. We have length and velocity. See how that went long? We have nudge, so you can nudge things off the grid. We have chance, whether or not something will happen or not. And then we have math, including all that stuff that you know from the like Digitect and Digitone ecosystem, where something will happen every time this repeats like 2 times or maybe 1 time. Very, very useful. We can also do fills and non-fills. Let's go ahead and do that to the drum real quick. Let's go over here. So what are we gonna do? Let's see. That's snare. That's tom. So let's go ahead and set this tom stuff to fill. We'll go to math, and you see how I'm holding down the whole row? I can affect the whole row in that respect. There we go. I'm gonna set this whole row to not fill. Here we go. Fill. So if you're familiar with the Digitect and Digitone, it's the same deal, baby. Let's go over to our drums, go back into step mode, and let's enter some claps. And you can see that currently my velocity is set to 81. Whatever I set this to, it will put on that. So you can set overall values, and you can set specific values. Let's go ahead and do a little chance fill. And if I like this, I can copy it and paste it. Let's go over to that track that we have this thing on. If I hold second plus plus, I will change the pattern length here. You can actually do it by copying events too, and deleting events. So there we go. Very useful to just auto grow a pattern, either by creating new events or having a blank set. So it's a little more advanced than how we would deal with like the digitag sequencer, where there's no chance, I don't believe, but to copy whatever's on the original stuff. So that's pretty nice. So we covered drum lane routing in that you can set up a drum track and set things out and name them, which is very, very useful. Let's look at velocity row stuff for our drums here. So go back into step mode. I'm going to hold second and go like this. And now this is velocity. So if I wanted to, I could come in and draw velocity for my toms. Which is pretty cool. Let's do that with a hi-hat, shall we? Here, I think this is my hi-hat. Oh, I had the math set to fill. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Remember, anything you have up here will be automatically added to the thing. So that's good. You can draw all of your stuff with a particular set of things here, but don't forget that that can be on. Let's go into second here. I love that. Velocity is one of those hidden ways that we can get, good stuff out of our projects without having to do a ton of programming. I think a lot of people sleep on velocity. The cool thing that we can do in here is do loop points. So let me show you that. Let me go over to this. So this is our first line that we recorded. If I hold down, I believe it is this, and one of the things there, I can loop a section. And if I do that, I can get out. If I want to loop a different section, see how I can move our little window around? I believe now it will loop this section. Which is very, very cool. All right, let's talk about automation. Let me get a baseline in here real quick. Cool. Let's go into automation. So here we are. I'm going to add an automation lane, and this is where you need to start getting to know your MIDI CCs. MIDI CCs are MIDI control change messages. They are how MIDI devices talk to things and make things happen within them. So for instance, let's see, we are on part 4. If I go to part 4 here, hit play, and then we're going to go look at the cutoff frequency. Here is the cutoff frequency for this thing. I know that cutoff frequency 1 is 69. Nice. On here. So let's go into that. And there it is. So every device has its own sort of map for this. You may see that it says hold pedal here. It's lying. It's a big liar. Let's draw some automation. So now you can see that our filter is moving around. So you can see how interpolation's on right now. Check out what happens when I just hit a couple things. See how it just interpolates between them? This is really useful if you want to like just create an up ramp over a period of time. With interpolation off, it's going to auto jump around, which is also very useful. So really, really cool ways to draw automation here. If you want to add automation and you don't know where it's going yet, you can create what's called a void lane, which I think is one of the coolest ways that you can label something. But let's see. So all of our MIDI CCs are here. Aftertouch, NRPNs, CV in and out, which we're going to be using later. So this is very cool. Let's go ahead and get rid of this lane. I'm going to hit undo until our void lane is gone. Let's talk about using CV real quick, because automation works really, really well for this. So this is my Zero Coast channel. If I go to live, let's make a little line for this, shall we? All right, so let's go into our automation thing. Now, I have my CV and gate dedicated to pitch and gate here, but the other four, these other three, excuse me, the other three CVs, these are set to whatever I want. So we have three things we can play with. Let's put one into multiply. Let's put one into overtone, one into decay. Now, let's go into here. You can see that this channel is set to CV1 and gate. So just that's how you do that. We are going to go into our automation and we're going to add CV out 2. We're going to add CV out 3. And we're going to add CV out 4. Now you can set a default for each one, meaning a default amount, which is very useful. Think of this as your floor, sort of. You can look at that resolution too, that's crazy. So obviously this is our decay. So let's go ahead and set something up. We'll use our little arrow keys to move between stuff and just create some interpolation and shit. And here. We're going to work on that decay. Oh, yeah, there. That's nice. Already. Dope. Okay, let's turn up our decay bit. Cool. So we just automated the O coast, which is really neat. Let's add some more notes to that. We'll go back to live and hit record. Now you can really hear that automation going, which is pretty damn cool. So very powerful, very fun to use. Let's talk about assigning. We're sort of in that mode now of talking about things that we can do to control other things. And assign is really cool. So I've hit second fill. Let's assign some stuff. So on this channel, I'm going to do, let's see, CC 69, nice. 80, this is cutoff frequency number 2. The decay of envelope 1, which is 31. And the decay of envelope 2. And then finally, les pistes de résistance CC94, which is the effects mix for effect 1, which is really cool. So what you're seeing here is me controlling part 1 via these macro knobs I'm assigned to this channel. Every channel can have 8 macro knobs that you can assign to whatever you want. So if we go into here and go into our sound and go into cutoff, you'll see that I'm controlling the Blofeld, which is really cool, right? I wouldn't call the Blofeld the most like performance-ready synth in the entire world. So it's nice to have the ability to reach in there and do this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? There will be instrument definitions that you can set up within this thing. I believe the Pyramid has that, which basically allow you to set up MIDI instruments as like templates, kind of, and you can load them, which is going to be really, really, really good. It's a pain in the ass, honestly, to have to go and look up MIDI CCs for everything all the time. It is part of working with MIDI hardware, though, so, you know, you should get used to that. But yeah, we'll have instrument definitions, which is really, really cool. But for now, we can do that. All right, with that said, I want to show you algos next. We'll do algos and then we'll do effects. Algos are these really cool things that you can apply to a track to do various things. The first one that we're going to deal with here is called generator. You access these by being in step mode for a track, and certain ones are available to certain types of tracks. Generator is available to drum tracks and poly tracks. So what's going to happen here is, with these settings, quantize 16, a pitch range, a density, a length of note, and a velocity, I'm going to be able to generate a new sequence, which is, frankly, pretty damn cool. We can algorithmically generate, according to our scale quantize for the whole thing, a new phrase. So let's do that for channel 2. Cool. This also works on drums. Let's go over here. I'm going to algorithmically generate this hi-hat thing here. You can change settings for the algo and have different types of patterns. So if I change the quantize to an 8th note, we'll have 8th notes come out of it, which is really nice. Careful settings. You can generate your entire recording, your entire sequence like this on the fly, which is really, really cool. And go to the next one called curves. Imagine this as a automation lane that you can create. Oh, my damn finger, why did I touch that? Imagine this as an automation lane that you can create to send to any of these things that you see here. Now see how the velocity is ramping up? If we go to, there we go, now we can actually see it. There's all kinds of stuff you can send this to, like roll, which is honestly pretty cool. Yeah, that's actually pretty rad. Increase the roll as we go. And then, of course, random. Oh, different flavors of random, too. I like it. So you can kind of see what the stochastic sort of plot of the randomness will be. So now we have randomized chance there. And if you don't like anything, you know, you can always go back to generator and just generate a new simple pattern. Every N. All right, let's try this here. So this is kind of like a Euclidean pattern generator. You can quickly generate, algorithmically generate patterns across. We even get accents, which is really nice. You can see ghost notes versus accent. I actually really like that. So, quick way to algorithmically generate patterns, ghost notes, stuff like that. Let's do that on a track over here. We'll come back over to here. do not get every n, but we can do velocity, length. So in this case, you can see that 1 is the whole 64 steps. So if you want this to change over time in a different way, you can change the rate. And now if we hit this, we should see that here's 1, and there's the second one. There's all kinds of fun ways that you can instill shape into your track with this stuff, which is really, really cool. All right, time to talk about effects. So we've been algorithmically generating these patterns, which is really, really cool. But now I want to talk about the incredibly powerful effects section. I forgot about symmetry, the symmetry algorithm. So we got this line right here. What this is going to do is re-pattern this based on different types of symmetry. So you can see I have pitch and time. So let's go ahead and give that a try real quick. Backwards. And then we have pitch, which is going to flip it vertically. Does that make sense? Here it is on a different line. So here's the pitch symmetry. You can see, dips it down, and try duplicate on. Ooh. That's super cool. So really boring little pattern there, right? Let's go into effects. The first effect is matrix, and we'll talk about that once we have an effect to play with. So the first thing I want to add is a randomizer. You can hear that is randomizing our octave up and down. We can also do notes. Now this is going to get a little nasty, right? So the next thing I like to add is a scalar to knock that back down to the scale that I actually choose. Go back here and change the chance. Let's do this to our baseline as well. For this one, I'm going to add a chance afterwards. This will thin out the notes, sort of like a probability thing. You can do the same thing over here. But first, let's put an arpeggiator on this. I love it. Now we can put chance and knock this down a bit. I like it. We have Euclidean, which automatically generates Euclidean patterns. Any of these can be put in any order. So in the track, I can set the MIDI input to a particular input. In this case, I have MIDI A and a channel 1. This thing is currently responding on channel 1 to this, sending MIDI in. So you can imagine you can do this with all kinds of MIDI controllers, right? Now, we can go into the effects, and we can go to our matrix. And I have set up 21, which is this knob right here, to control the amount of chance. And then this one here, I have set to our decay. I've passed it through to CV out. So let's listen to what that sounds like. All right, let's talk about LFOs. This is another effect we get access to. It's a low frequency oscillator. It sends out data to a place that we might want to send out data to. So we already kind of did this a little bit with the automation thing, but let's do it here. Let's go to CC out 3 and listen to that. This LFO is now controlling that, I guess, along technically with this. So if we sync it, get sort of a sidechain kind of thing. And we can do this with a couple things. So let's go to LFO. Let's go to CV. 4. So that's all just being done with LFOs in here. How about LFO waveform from that? That's cool. So a lot of control you can have on this stuff, which is, frankly, pretty damn cool. Let me show you something called BPM elasticity. This is something that you can do to create polyrhythms. Each track can have its own elasticity. Now, this is going to sound kind of bad right now, but I want you to think about the implications of this, how you could use this to create really interesting sort of ambient polyrhythmic stuff. Well, that's very interesting. That was kind of cool. I just turned my whole rest of the thing into triplets accidentally. Obviously, this BPM elasticity can be used to like slow things down to 50% or speed them up. Double time. You can hear this is a better way of showing off the polyrhythm thing. So now everything is presenting as triplets over here. So if I did that the opposite way, I've created like these sped up triplets over here, which is kind of nifty, I guess. Let's talk about patterns. So I can launch a whole row. There is a sync, like you might expect, in that you can change how long it takes for things to switch over. So this is very, very useful. It's like Ableton clip launching if you're familiar with that. What else do we got? I can launch individual things. Stop individual things. So you can play this like you would like sort of Ableton session mode, which is really, really nice. I can launch an entire row. I can play them individually, but I can also add songs and sections. And this is probably something that people are going to really, really like. So over here, we can see sections. Sections. Let's go ahead and save a section. We'll call this oh no, we need to delete first. I'll just call this 1. Shall we just make it really easy? Cool, I like that. 2. And 3. All right. So I can launch this. Which is cool as heck. It's like scene memory for your patterns, which is super cool. These can also be arranged into a song by arranging sections in order. And of course, you can be nonlinear with the order. You can go 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, whatever. You know, enter the song tab and add a section. 1 can change how long it plays for. So that's really cool, right? So we'll do 4 bars for that. So you can go before or after. We'll do 2. We'll do 32. 16 bars. So we'll go over to here from mode to song play or song loop. Perform is when you have access to this or the sections, but now we can do song play. Here it goes. So you get the idea, right? Very, very, very easy to create whatever you want. I love it. It's so cool. Song mode's one of those things that everybody is like, has a big boner for all the time. So here you go. Here's your song mode, you boner fiends. One thing I haven't talked about is the direction of our patterns. So if you hold down a patterns thing, you can change all kinds of stuff here, but I'm going to change the direction. So you can see that we have all these cool randomization and reverse ping pong. So what does this mean? Go to live mode. We're currently in ping pong. I can go to bar random. So every bar it'll change random position. I can go to play reverse. I can go to beat random. I can go to 16th random. So all this stuff is available to you on the fly to screw around with your pattern, which is really, really cool. This thing could be like an ambient machine, honestly, like just because like every sequence can be like a different rate. It can have different playback modes, all the effects. It's wild. Like I'm doing this really kind of simple electro thing to show off as much as I possibly can, but like this is a no compromise. I'm just gonna say this. This is a no compromises sequencer. Like this thing has so much packed into it. It's like a lot of the times you get a piece of gear and you're like, oh, this, I wish you really did this. And there's always going to be people that wish something didn't do something. There's going to be people that are wishing that this thing like made sound or something like that. I'm going to get a lot of comments asking if they should get this or the deluge. And I swear to God, if you don't do your own research about what the differences between the two are, I'm going to scream. I'm gonna make a video where I just scream for 10 minutes so I can also monetize it. Just please don't ask me if you should get this or the deluge. It's a great sequencer. I haven't said that yet. I've been showing you everything. I think it's amazing. If you are looking for a hardware sequencer, this is probably the one. I'll say that again later in the video, but we are not done yet. Next up is project transitions. So you might notice we have project A and project B over here. So this is our project A. Let's go ahead and save it just real quick. So this is what they mean by polychronic. Project B, hold it down, load. I have a second project here. Okie dokie. So now we have a project in B and we have a project in A. You can have two projects going at once or two projects loaded up at once, and you can do like mutes and all that kind of stuff over here too. So what that means is you can seamlessly move between two projects in a variety of manners. So right now, project A is active, project B is muted. If I hold mute, oh, there we go. Now project B is muted. I can do this. That's project B. That's project A. This would probably be more obvious if I went into project B and I changed the global quantize to F minor Dorian. So now this one is 1/1 key, and the other one is in another key. It's a great time to talk about transpose. So I have track 16 set up to transpose. That is done in project settings. You can see pitch transpose on 16 right here. So what that's going to do is if you go into your channel, I think it's second channel, see how it says pitch transpose 1, 1, 1. All these are 1. What that's going to do is I can transpose in this live mode here. Let's do it. Let's mess around. and I can go really high. So you can actually sequence this. You can actually record transposition sequences in here just like you could any other notes, which is super cool. Oh my God, I think that's it. Have I missed anything? Hold on, let me look at my notes. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention something. Here's what I forgot to mention. One of the things I noticed with the Blofeld, and this will happen with a few other instruments, is that if we go into automation here, let's go ahead and add a lane. There it is. There it is. Very important. Okay, 192 pulses per quarter note for that automation coming out. My goodness, is that fast. You can easily overload a synthesizer with that much MIDI data getting spammed at it. And I have, in fact, overloaded the poor little Blofeld here in such a way that it just started buffering in a nasty way. It had too much information. It's like a size difference scene, you know, like just too much trying to fit into the Blofeld at once. So you can actually change the modulation or the automation rate, anything from 1 pulse per quarter note to 192. So keep that in mind when you're working with your synths. Some might need a little less information going in there. And especially if you're going to be dealing with like a multi-timbre thing where everything's going to something at once, you might want to go change that. This is very, very cool to have, a very, very cool feature that they thought of because it's one of those things that would have been probably really frustrating for people when they tried to like start working with a lot of MIDI gear. But there it is. You can change the pulse per quarter note resolution of your automation. Another cool thing is I learned late in this review that this allows you to change any of the colors in the settings for anything. So people that experience color blindness, if you do not like the color coding, you can actually get in there and change that, which I think is pretty cool. One more thing, we have this snapshot system here, which allows you to take a snapshot of what's going on in the sequence right there and go in and mess around with it. And then when you hit the snapshot again, it goes back and you can toggle between them, which is very, very cool. It's sort of like the save buffer thing in the Digitax where you can like hit function yes, and then do all your crazy stuff and then hit function no and go back to the original pattern as it was. We have all the effects that can non-destructively change things. We have the generators, the algos, we have song mode, everything that I've talked about in this video. It all adds up to, I think, probably the best hardware sequencer on the market, at least in my limited experience. I've used the other sequencers from our friends here at Squarp. I'm a big Hermod fan, and this blows out of the water in terms of what it can do, its interactivity. I've not used a Circlon, so sorry for those that have a boner for the Circlon. I'm not going to be able to talk about that. But hey, the difference between the Circlon and here, the Squarp Hotbox that I can think of is that you can get this as opposed to waiting for like 20 years for the Circlon or paying insane exorbitant prices. Speaking of prices, I believe this is priced at $1,000, so it's not a cheap investment. However, if you are dedicated to hardware, if you like using hardware of various types, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find an out-of-the-box solution that's going to offer the kind of, you know, interactivity and save and performability, recall, all that kind of fun stuff that this does. Go read the manual. If you have any other questions, I'm sure there's something I've missed here. And like I said, these are really complex devices. They have a lot going on in them, and it can be easy to miss a little thing if you're desperately trying to get a review video out, you know, a couple days after the announcement of this thing. So that's my spiel on the Squarp Hapax, the Squarp Hotbox. I'm going to keep that joke going because it is the Polychronic sequencer. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording, and I really do hope that you have a wonderful day.